You can insert a scene by right-clicking over here. So if I right-click on 4, insert scene, it creates a scene in between 4 and 5, which is 12, which is in numerical order with the last scene. So the last one was 11, so it's going to make 12 in between 4 and 5. If I decide to use capture and insert scene, it will capture, basically make a duplicate of whatever scene is playing at the time. So notice how scene 1 is primed and ready to play as soon as I click spacebar. So if I click capture and insert scene, it'll create scene 12, but it'll create a duplicate of scene 1, which was primed to play. You can launch scenes by clicking the return or enter key, the same thing. So if I click enter, and this goes off of global quantization, which is up here. If I set it to a lower value, let's say every 16th. Notice how they launch so much faster. Each scene here has a launch option. So let's go with the drums. If I go, if I go down here, you'll see launch, and this works the same way for audio. Audio. They both have a launch section. So if I go down launch, the default mode is trigger, meaning that when I click it, it plays. And if I click it again, it replays it to the global quantization. So notice how it's restarting every time I click it. Ooh, let's hide some of these. So if I make it a slow or a high number global quantization, it takes a long time for it to re-trigger. If I have gate selected, it plays for as long as I have the mouse held down on that clip. With toggle selected, by clicking on the clip, it starts and stops the clip from playing. So click once to have it play, and click again to have it stop playing. With repeat selected, holding the mouse button down repeatedly triggers the clip at the quantization interval. So whatever I have this quantization value set to, that's what it'll repeat at. You can also set the quantization options down here. Right now it's set to global, which is this up here, but you can have it at any specific interval that you want for that specific clip. There's also some really cool features that you can do over here on the master track channel. If you rename any of these, so let's say I'm going to rename this one 170 space BPM. And then I'll rename the next one 120 BPM. Whenever I click this launch scene button, it changes the tempo of the song to 170 or 120. And it'll stay there until you change the tempo again. You can also do the same thing with the time signature, and it'll change the time signature for the entire track. You also have the ability to remove the stop button, so when you play the next scene, tracks in the prior scene will continue to play. So I have this loop right here, and right now this entire scene is playing. I'll remove this stop button so that when I launch the next scene, it's still playing. When normally it should stop. But if I launch the next scene with a stop button, it does stop. As you know, there's two views in Ableton, session and arrangement. You can record from session into arrangement by clicking the arrangement record button here at the top. If you just click it by itself, then it'll start recording immediately. And whenever you play clips, it'll play it to the global quantization. So right now it is recording, but nothing's playing, so nothing's being recorded in. So if I click one of these scenes, it'll play to the global quantization. And it'll always play on beat. So now if I tab over, you can see that we waited a little bit of time and then we started recording. Remember to click the back to arrangement view in order to select and edit any of these clips. I'm going to do Command A to select all of this and delete it because we don't want any of that. If you shift click the arrangement record button, then it'll prime it and get it ready to record instead of just automatically recording. So now when I play a scene, then it'll start to record. Something to note is that you might want to look down here at these little circles. This is telling you how many beats are in a clip. So there's 32 beats, which is 8 bars in this clip. And this tells you how many times it's been repeated. So it's only been played once, and this is the second time it's playing. This one only has 4 beats, which is 1 bar, and it's been played 11 times already. You can tell by the circle that it's about a quarter of the way done. You want to try to launch the next scene before it reaches the top, not as it reaches the top. You're not trying to get perfect timing, because Ableton will do that for you. So now when I tab over to arrangement view, you see what I played is now recorded in. I played scene 1 once entirely, and then I played scene 2 once entirely. And then I played the beginning about a quarter of the way through of scene 3, and this is about a quarter of the way through of scene 3. You can also drag any of these clips straight in to arrangement view. So I'm going to click this, hold it down, click tab, and I can drag it down here. I can actually drag this entire scene, click, shift, over here. Now some of these are smaller because they're loops. Remember, this one is only a 4-beat loop. So I'm going to want to drag this out and loop it for as long as I want. And this is how you make your song. You adjust timings. Like say you want this to stop right before the end, or if you want this one to go on a little bit longer. What I tend to do is get ideas in session view, and then when I'm ready, I drag it over to arrangement view and start arranging the progression of my song. And remember that when you're in arrangement view, to click the back to arrangement button so that you can edit this, so that it's not entirely grayed out. And again, the individual arrows here will individually bring tracks over to arrangement view. This button just does them all at once.